What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Camera Junkie live stream. This is week number 89. As we level up and we continue on this journey of the Camera Junkie live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie. If it's your first time here, I welcome you and ask you to introduce yourself in the chat so you can get the warm Camera Junkie welcome. And where I always remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. But today we are going to be talking a little bit about gear and what I would expect if I want to continue to upgrade my skills. So with that being said, first off, let's go see who's here and let's say what's up to the Camera Junkie crew. All right, let's go down here. All right, and right off the bat, we have John saying, yes, it's Saturday night. What's up? Say Saturday night, y'all. Hello to the crew. Melanie is also here saying happy Saturday night. Randy hanging out saying good evening. And the master moderator, the Paul Duncan, saying, hey, what's up to the fam? And with that, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to bring this down just a bit. But I'm going to get right into things. Today, I'm a little excited and a little torn, but I'm going to bring to you a little information about the new Sigma 24mm f1.4 art GG-DN lens. Now, it's nothing of a shocker to let anyone know that I have an affinity or a special place in my heart for Sigma lenses. Right now, you're looking at me through the Sigma 16mm f1.4 that I love and use for all of my live streams. Right over here, I also have the Sigma 30mm to give me that same aesthetic, but this is what I'm currently using. But my love for Sigma goes way back, way before when I used to shoot Canon. That Sigma lenses always performed very well for me, and they were always extremely sharp, which is something that you look for in photography. Now, when I moved over to Sony, I moved over to Sony for more of their video capabilities, which allows me to do live streams and a bunch of different things like that. And with that being said, I've been very happy to know that Sigma has carried a trio of lenses for the APS-C lineup, which have been very well, accepted or very well adapted to the Sony users. So that being the 16mm that you see here, the 30mm, and also a 56mm that gives you like an 85mm equivalent. So it gives you from like a 24 to a 50 and an 85 type of focal lengths within that same trio of lenses for the APS-C line. Now, they perform very well. And like I said, that's probably like the #1 sold lens for Sony APS-C for content creators is the one that you're looking at right now, which is the 16mm f1.4. Absolutely love this lens for all case scenario. But this is the whole thing. This new one is a 24mm, which gives me the same look that you're seeing right now from this 16mm, and it's also an f1.4. Now, I have my full frame camera, but I've been pretty good at being able to hold off in having to purchase the $1,500 lens, the G Master, and it's been, this new lens right now is gonna make it really tough for me to kind of stay away. So what are some things that we can know about this new lens? It's lighter than its predecessor. It's shorter than its predecessor. It has 17 glass elements in it, so this is very interesting. 5 of them are spherical. I believe they're in 3 groups, so that's getting really nerdy. Some of the key things that I'm like thinking about this lens, which is I just see it as like a step up from the lens that you're seeing right now. It's a full frame equivalent to what you're seeing out of this 16mm now. The reason why I say that is because they've had previously a 24mm, but it was not a native lens to mirrorless cameras. It was basically just their standard Canon EF lens that they had put an adapter that most of us that actually transitioned from Canon to Sony ended up picking up one of these types of adapters that will allow you to use your old Canon lenses on your Sony cameras. And it basically used their own signature Sigma adapter. I just ran a blank on that word. Oof, okay. But they basically used their own adapter and they mounted it onto their Canon lens and called it the Sony equivalent. Now, you could get good shots, but the lens was big, heavy, and it didn't work natively because it basically was just a standard adapted lens. With that being said, they just come out with this new version. Like I said, it's lighter, it's shorter. It's made that DN stands for digital native, so that stands that it's designed for mirrorless cameras, and it shows. Now, they did not hold off on any of the stops. This thing has a lockable aperture ring, so you not only can you lock it into the automatic mode, but you could actually lock it to an aperture of your choice. So let's say you wanted it to be at f4 and you wanted to lock it manually, you have that ability. On top of that, you have a manual focus lock, which is pretty interesting. So it does have that customizable button that allows you to change it to whatever you want, but it actually also has a lockable manual focus, so that if you were to use manual focus, you can lock that in as well, so that it just will not move and nothing that you do will actually bump it out. That makes this lens like extremely good for astrophotography, meaning that you can dumb it down or basically simplify it and take complete control of this lens, which is really impressive for Sigma to come out with something like that, seeming that this Sigma 16mm that you see here literally just has a focus ring, you know, and it's focused by wire, so it's not nothing that's hard, and it's digital. So that being said, seeing all of these functions applied to this lens really has me thinking twice, because like I mentioned before, I've been pretty good on not buying the $1,500 lens, but this lens is like really customizable. On top of that, it's lighter. It's, if it looks or if it feels anything like my Sigma 16mm, which is the equivalent of a full frame lens in size, even though it's for APS-C, then I know that they knocked it out of the park. Plus, it has the art designation, meaning that that is like their top tier when it comes to, you know, clarity and sharpness. I love the Sigma colors, so this lens is, I'm kind of deeming it like this is the lens that I didn't know that I was waiting for, right? I love the quality that you get from G Master lenses, but their price tag is pretty hefty. So with that being said, I was able to get all of the looks and the shots that I've wanted up to this point with my Sigma lens. But this is where we're at right now. I'm also looking to upgrade my skills, and one of those things has to do with color grading, recording log footage, doing a lot of different things in that aspect. But I also know and understand that recording log footage and trying to manipulate a color space in 8-bit realm really is defeating the purpose. That's why I work hard in making sure that I get the image right in camera, so that I can just finesse it in post if it needs it. But I like to make sure that I get the correct information. Let me put that down. I like to make sure that I get the right image, correcting myself, and get all the colors done correctly in camera. This is something that I've applied from photography, but that I'm also putting into the video realm, into this space. And once you get the colors correct, it allows me to make the recordings and not have to do color correction or color grading as a post process aspect to it. So having to throw an entire, 4K like adjustment layer over everything to adjust the colors is not something that I'm a big fan of. So the same way, I like to get the most out of the cameras correctly in this 8-bit color space. But then when it comes to 10-bit, it's like night and day. So it really changes everything. And that's when I'll be able to record a log or a flat profile and really manipulate the colors and start doing, or really start exploring with the potential of the skills that can be done through editing, and post-production. Like, most people are familiar with shows like Breaking Bad, that has like this really like orange hue and tinge to the entire series to make it seem like it's hot. It took place in Arizona, so that's the look that they wanted to give you, like that kind of dry desert heat. And a lot of that is applied with this color space. Now, old school photography, film photography, you did not have color space, right? You didn't have 8-bit, 10-bit, and so on and so forth. So what you had is what you had, and people did prefer certain types of brands of film and different, different emulations that they were able to utilize with those films. So that's the closest that you can get to kind of like a post-production being baked into the camera, or a particular look or aesthetic to be baked into your images. But with that being said, we're able to do a lot more when it comes to the color space with these digital files. Now, most of the photography cameras, right, like even going way back into like the early 2000s, like digital cameras, they were still at least, I believe, like 10-bit when it came to the color space in photography. But when it comes to video, it's a lot harder, because you're talking about 24 to 30 and sometimes even 60 or 120 frames that it's capturing every second, comparative to just one simple snapshot or even a burst of shots. That's why within the digital space in these computers, we were able to manipulate photographs so much more than actual footage. Now we've reached that space where we're able to manipulate footage in 120 frames per second in a much similar color space than we would our photos, even going to way back then. Now we're up to, I believe, like 16-bit, color space in photos and stills, and the amount of colors that you can adjust and the granular aspect of what you can do in post is really remarkable. So that's what I'm trying to do as far as like upgrading my skills. So right now, my hopes and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, is that with these new latest iterations of cameras, the new Canon R7, the Canon R10, seeming that Panasonic, and I believe quite a few are already in the 10-bit color space with APS-C cameras, I'm really holding out, and I'm hoping that Sony comes around and brings out a new APS-C camera with that codec, with the 10-bit codec. And if they do, I'm gonna be jumping all over it. And I'm just letting you know right now, because that's kind of like the next step as far as the skills that I want to upgrade. But I gotta tell you the truth, I absolutely love the small form factor of my small Sony cameras. They are easy to deal with. and I have the full frame equivalent, which is still small comparative to my previous Canon cameras. Even the APS-C Canon cameras were bigger than my current Sony Alpha 7, right? My R7. So which one is this? The R7 II? Yeah. The Sony Alpha A7R2 is the one that I have. And like I said, my older APS-C Canon cameras were physically bigger than that. I actually looked and have them side by side. My Fuji APS-C camera, my man, I'm running a blank on all these camera model names. The XT1, right? That one that I have there is actually the same size as my full frame A7R2. So like, these cameras are not big, but yet, like I said, I absolutely love the APS-C size. So if Sony comes out with the 10-bit, I'm all in, and that would be my next camera. I'm really getting an itch because I'm a camera junkie, right? And it's been a long time that I haven't purchased a camera, and I've been pretty good at not jumping at the latest and greatest when it's come out. There's been a lot of cameras that have come out since my last camera purchase. So I'm really hoping that that comes out, because if it doesn't, then I think I know where I'm going. You know, I'm gonna be jumping to full frame, and I'm gonna be looking at the most logical step as far as what I'm looking for to get out of the camera as far as those specs. So I'm going to be looking at what's going to be the most price effective and cost effective camera to purchase that's going to get me all of the specs. Not sure if it's going to be the latest and greatest, but it's going to be the one that's going to be best for me. And that's what I've done with all of my cameras, and that's why I've been able to hold off on having to buy like the latest trend, because I know exactly what I'm looking for. So with that being said, let me just finish up on this lens, because if I do have to jump to full frame to get the 10-bit that I want, because Sony doesn't come out with it and they're just not going to distribute that to the APS-C, which I think would not be a smart move by them, but I digress. That's a whole different conversation. If that's what were to happen, then I know that instead of purchasing the G Master lens, I'm going to be getting this 24mm f1.4. And this is where it's really got me like, these are the choices that are being presented to me. And that's why I said this looks like this is the lens that I didn't even know that I was waiting for. And it's pretty interesting, because I love the look that I get from my Sigma lenses. I've always enjoyed Sigma glass, even going back to my Canon days. So knowing the quality of image and the colors that I'm going to get from the lens is not an issue. So then what is the next thing? The next thing that's like mind-boggling, which is literally like, is the fact that this lens, being the new lens that just came out, is actually priced $50 cheaper than its predecessor. And not even $50 cheaper than Sony's, no, $50 cheaper than the lens that it's gonna replace. So right now, if you were to go on to B&H, this lens is, I think, on pre-order, because it's there. The release will be, I believe, next month. So on pre-order, you can get this one for $799. But if you want the older, heavier, bigger, clunkier, older technology f1.4, then you can pay $50 more and have that shipped to you, which is like, that makes no sense whatsoever. So you have a newer lens that's $50 cheaper than what it's replacing. It's smaller, lighter, more convenient, has more functionality. I'm guessing is gonna have better image quality, because I don't think they're gonna take a step back. So let's just say equivalent to something like a G Master. And when you compare it to the actual G Master at $800, it's $500 cheaper than the G Master f1.4. So if I do end up picking up a full frame camera, which I still, have options. I wouldn't know which one I would be getting, but if that's what I am going to be looking at, I absolutely know that this is the lens that I'm going to be picking up to replace like this setup right here. So I can get the same exact look, but then get the color bit depth that I want for all of my, footage, for my content, recordings, all of that stuff. So I'm really like, I'm really impressed with this lens, especially for the price and what you're getting out of it. So, f1.4, it's going to be extremely good in low light. So for my scenario here and for what I use it, absolutely going to be a no-brainer. Plus it's also a full frame. So this is going to give you even that much, like that little extra bit of quality in low light. And yeah, I think that's my dilemma. Like I'm gonna mention it for the third time. This feels like the lens that I didn't know that I was waiting for, but yet it's here. So I'm kind of excited to see how this is all gonna plan out, because I have been like saving up a little bit to see what is gonna be my next camera, and I'm getting close to pulling the trigger, and I'm getting excited. So I'm gonna see what's going on, and I'm just gonna hold off to see what to expect from Sony coming around, for this holiday season, because that's where the camera should be released so that they can be purchased. Right now, on another note, I am doing everything to get ready for People of Video. So People of Video is coming up next month. It's going to be in Albany, New York. But because of other, other events that I'm really excited about working with Ecamm, there's going to be like another workshop, and it looks like I'm going to be up in the New York area for like close to a month. So it looks like I'm going to be taking off in the middle of September, and I'm gonna probably be getting back here in the middle of October. So it's gonna be interesting, but I'm excited because it's such an amazing like road trip that's gonna happen. I'm gonna be moving from like New York to Boston and back and forth. So like I said, I'm really excited for this opportunity, and I just can't wait. I'm like giddy like a little kid waiting to go to Disney World. So People of Videos coming up. But one thing that I am doing, right, that's kind of like one of the toughest things, which is like cleaning like you're gonna go on vacation, right? So I'm starting from right now. So instead of it just bombarding me, I'm starting to do all of those like tasks here at home to make sure that they're just not overwhelming when I have to like hit the road, right? So I'm actually packing right now, and I'm packing all the things and thinking it through. I have to bring gear because I'm going to be doing photo shoots and video recordings. There's going to be a lot of things going on, but one thing that I can tell you is that I haven't missed a live stream, and with some new pieces of technology that I've been implementing, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of like mobile live streaming as well. And that's another thing another project that I'm going to be working on. I'm probably going to be taking my Mac Mini here and seeing if I mobilize it in a Pelican case with like a mobile monitor, different things like that. Yeah, I'm really excited for the things that are happening, but like I said, I'm taking it in stride, and I'm starting from right now so that it just doesn't all pile up on me next month, in the first so basically I got 30 days from like right now to get everything in order, but like I was telling you, I've already started that. So all right, now let's go ahead and check the chat, check with you guys before I move on. All right, we have Tom Beasy in the house saying what's up. All right, everyone's saying hello. Gretchen is also here saying hello. How are you doing, Gretchen? Thank you for stopping by. Oh, Scott Rogers stopping by saying hello to the Camera Junkie crew. Says Sigma art glass is sweet. It actually is. Like I used to have this I don't want to get into the story of why I don't have that lens anymore, but I gave it to my brother and I was supposed to get it back, but it was for a Canon the FE, right? Man, I'm running a blank on which mount that was called, but the Canon standard Canon lens from like, man, I can't believe that I'm running such a brain fart on this. This is like, but anyways, I think it's the FE, right? I'm gonna leave it at that. The EOS FE mount. Gretchen, give me a thumbs up if I got it right, or correct me, please. But I will continue. It was a Sigma lens for my Canon camera, and it was a hyper zoom. It was a 18mm to 200. Had no stabilization, but this thing was sharp and it was parfocal throughout the entire range. Now, I've looked for this lens and I cannot find it. That's just so interesting. That's like, I can't forget it. I found similar ones. I found 18s to 140, 18 to like 170, but it was an 18mm to 200. It was a like walk around lens that you could just take some wides all the way to like this hyper zoom, and then when I had it on my APS-C camera, it gave me like a 28 to God knows what, right? I think it was like to 350 range equivalent. And like I said, because it didn't have image stabilization, it had like all of the elements fixed in, which allowed it to just be extremely sharp. It was parfocal, so it didn't matter how little or how like far I zoomed. Once it was focused, it stayed focused. And then it will allow you as a photographer to adjust your, you know, like your sharpness through your shutter speed. So if you wanted a sharper photo, you know, you'd crank up the shutter a bit to make sure that you got it. But with that being said, extremely sharp. Still looking for that lens, so to speak, just to have it, you know. Haven't found it. Very interesting. But that's why I said my love for Sigma and the colors that I got from that lens with my Canon cameras, I absolutely loved all of those images. So, and Sigma Art Glass is just like saying Canon L Glass, you know. It is their top tier and really holds its own with that. Law is in the house saying hello and happy Saturday. Okay, Gretchen said jump. I don't know what that means, but remind me if you can. I'm checking the messages now. All right. So everyone's saying hello to each other, saying hi to Paul. Scott is smiling. Okay, John's got a question here. He says, how is the size and weight of the Sigma versus the Sony G Master 24mm? I wasn't able to get all of the specs of the G Master because I was comparing it to its predecessor, and I didn't get enough time. But let's see if we can pull that up real quick. That being Sony. Okay, so this is the G Master, and yeah, it's $1,300. Don't get me wrong, there's like G Master is exactly what it is. But I'm also just being realistic. Even for me and my budget, like, it's a little priced out. That's also why I like to stay within the APS-C range, because if I can get the 10-bit with the glass that I already have, that's even better, because literally the price of all three lenses that I mentioned before, the Sigma 16, 30, and 56, that entire trio is less, and by $200 less than just this one G Master lens. So it really goes to show you, like, you know, and the thing is that the quality is not bad. All right, let's see. It's not giving me too much information on it here because this is Best Buy. Where's the B&H? B&H would give us a little bit more information, more details on it. Let's see. And they're not doing too good of a job either. There we are. Okay. I'm going to pull up both pages. So right now I'm also going to pull up this new Sigma. All right, bear with me. This is all the things that I do before the live stream, and that's why I said, like, I try to get it ready, but these are all things that take time. And this is just me always making sure that I'm providing as much value as I possibly can. All right, here we are. And let's get the specs on this as well. Okay. So putting them side by side. And this is the crazy thing from the reviews that I've seen as well. They're both 24 millimeters, but the Sigma's just like a hair, just a smidgen, just that much wider. So let's see if this says it. It's an 84.1 degree angle of view on the Sigma, and it says an 84 on the Sony, which I would actually think it would be like a 23.9 on the Sigma because it's just that, like, the smidgen wider. As far as minimal focus distance, we have 24 centimeters on the Sony and 25 centimeters on the Sigma. So 1 centimeter closer with the G Master. Okay, let's see. It says macro reproduction rate is 7.1 to 1 on the Sigma. They don't even give me that for. They don't even give me the macro for the Sony. Okay. As far as weight goes, we're looking at 1.93 pounds, so almost 2 pounds on the G Master, and the Sigma. Why did they do this? It's 18 ounces, 510 grams. But if 16 ounces is 1 pound, that means it is more or less like 1.3 pounds or 1.4. So significantly lighter. You can say by half a pound at least. So half a pound lighter on the Sigma. And let me see if there's any other difference. They both have 11 bladed aperture, which is really good to give you nice round smooth bokeh, short for Boca Raton, for those of you who don't know. And I think that would be it. That and the price, right? So you can focus a little bit closer as far as macro close-up shots with the G Master. It's about half a pound heavier when it comes to G Master and $500 more expensive. So that is the specs. Now, of course, edge to edge sharpness, you're probably going to get the most and the best out of Sony. Don't take anything away from that. But at the same time, is it worth $500 more? Because that's what it comes down to. Is it worth an extra $500? And that's up to you. If you have it to spend, more power to you. I can't wait to one day get to that point where I can say, yes, I just want that because I want it. But right now, I still have to be who I am, which is more conservative. And I have to plan my next steps as far as like gear upgrades and things like that. Because like I always say, upgrade your skills before your gear. Another thing is, like you see my shirt says glass before ass. One thing that I understand is that I can buy this lens and get the same type of quality with the cameras that I already have, because the lenses are 100 times more important than the camera body. You know, that is just like the film or the film emulation, but the lenses make all the difference in the world. That's why this thing is really like calling to me, but I digress. Let's go back to the chat here. Says just over a pound, says Gretchen. Yes, 18 ounces on the Sigma. Oh, she had answered it for John. So you see, that's what's so awesome about you guys, that like you're already like answering within each other. What's up, Kevin? Kevin's also here saying hello to all. EF, right? So I was right. EF, because FE is Sony, so it just threw me for a loop. All right, so yeah, everyone's saying yes. Like it says, Canon FD, I think that's the older one. Canon FD is even older, and that was like back in the days of the Nikon AI, right? AI, something like that. Yeah, EF digital, FE was film cameras. Oh, so did I say FE? Because FE is what Sony is right now. Like full frame E mount. So that's where it all got mixed up there. My bad, guys. But thanks for coming through and clarifying. So I did say FE. I didn't say EF. And that's what it is. Canon EF lenses. Okay. I had several Canon T90s cameras back then. No, that's D90s, right? Or is that a film camera that I'm not even aware of? You know what? I'm going to have to Google it now. Gonna have to Google it. So real quick, I'm going to go Canon T90. Yeah, absolutely. A 35 millimeter film, and they're still being sold right now on eBay for about $120. Look at that. You learn something new every day. Thanks for that bit of information. T90. Wow. Yeah, it looks pretty pro, especially for the era. And that's another thing. Like all of my cameras, they have the eye cups, because I'm a photographer. So I absolutely love just being able to create like a little loop, little dark station, close my eye and just be able to focus on the image. But that's just me going back to photography, which I absolutely love. That is my passion. I still do it. I take pictures of Aiden all the time. Those are just for me. That's not for Instagram or anything. That's just me always working on my skills, taking photos of my son and creating memories. That's just, can't beat that. You cannot beat that. All right. So I'm going to continue here in chat as everyone's correcting me about the EF and the FE. FE full frame, EF was the old lenses, RF are the new ones, says Randall, which is absolutely on point. It says pretty sure it was FD. FD was even older than the EF mounts. The EF was the digital, and the EOS, which was more when I got like more into the photography and kind of when I departed as well. Because when I left photography in school and things like that, the television production, all that stuff, it was right when like the turn of the century, and I was working on computers and networks, and that's where I fell into instead of actually like pursuing the passion. And comes full circle. Now I'm here with all the experience of the technology and the technical side, and I'm able to understand, repair, and like really comprehend the film and the technology camera industry, and I have so much fun doing it. Absolutely love it. Just took a minute. I had a collection of those lenses 20 years ago, and that's the whole thing. If you can find a L series, you know, a red ring FD lens, yo, those things still rock. Those things, you know, like especially for photography, you're still gonna get crystal clear images. Like they hold their own even till today. One of them that I have here is my Nikon, my 50 millimeter. That's a Nippon Gogaku, right? Nippon Gogaku, which is like back in the day before they were even called Nikkor. And I think it's from like 1969. This is like a 50 something year old lens, and it's still so sharp and holds up to all photography till today. It holds up, and I have a video on my channel where I compared that lens to my 55 millimeter Sony Zeiss, which is probably one of the sharpest lenses that you can find for Sony, and magical lens. Absolutely love my Zeiss 55. That's the reason why I don't have the 56 millimeter in the Sigma, because I don't need it. Like the reason why I don't have the trinity of Sigma lenses and I have the 16 and the 30 is because I have this 55 millimeter Zeiss. So anytime that I'm gonna shoot that focal range, or that focal length, whether it's on my full frame or APS-C, that's the lens that I go to. So it's like, why spend money on something that I know I'm not gonna use? And that's literally the only reason why I haven't bought it. Absolutely love that Zeiss lens. Gretchen says, I still have my original Canon EF, the Black Beauty film camera with an FD 50 millimeter lens. That's awesome. See, like that's something that stands the test of time. And that's what most people don't understand. Like a camera. Here, let me pull this one out. Look at this camera over here. This is my Sony NEX6 kit lens. This camera is, I believe, turning like 11 or 12 years old right now. 16 megapixels, but it has the same sensor because Sony was the one who provided the sensors for that same Fuji X-T1. So it's got the same 16.1 megapixel sensor, and something about 16 megapixels that I feel, and this is just me, this is my opinion, I feel that the 16 megapixel has this aesthetic, right? Just that file being exported in 16 megapixel is probably the closest that you can get to film and digital just outright. Like, I think once you pass the 16 megapixels, you get to a level of sharpness that I don't think film ever really got to. And we've progressed from there and there and there, right? And that's why some people like love film photography and they're like, oh, it's just this feeling that you get to it. And for me, you get that from these 16 megapixel sensors and all of these like just slightly older digital cameras. That's why I have this one and the XT1. They're these X-Trans sensors. They were made differently, and because of it, the images that you receive from them are different. They have like a different feel. That's why I absolutely love it. But when you look at this camera, man, like this thing is still awesome. Like, it is so small, so compact, that this is probably one of my most used cameras right now, because everything else is set up that whenever I just want to grab something, I'm grabbing this. You know, something simple. Like I said, has like the little loop, so able to, you know, cut my eye. Absolutely love this camera. And it just keeps getting older, and it will stand the test of time, just like these old film cameras. And that's where I think that the investment in these electronics really goes above and beyond. So they are expensive, right? They do cost, but just like lenses and even these cameras, that they might not have the best or the greatest video specs for photography, this is still an amazing machine. Like, the fact that it's so small, and this is with the kit lens right now. My overhead camera right here, let me see if I can bring it up. Right here, this camera, I have my 20mm f 2.8 lens on it, and because of it, that's what like that, actually not because of it, what I'm saying, that on this lens, it's a little pancake size lens that's no bigger from where my finger's at right now. So it really makes this camera even more compact, and that's kind of like the setup that I use for the road all the time. The fact that this is like a power zoom, so when you turn it on, you have to wait like a second before the lens extends, and then when it extends, it will always be at 16mm. Then you have to wait to focus. All minor details on the like aspect of like how long it takes to get into your photos and shoot. But when I'm using the 20mm, none of that has to be waited. So as soon as I turn it on, it's like screen is on and I'm ready to capture images. So little details like that make all the difference. But this older camera, man, it still definitely holds its own. And I purchased this camera from like a neglected home. I got it for a really good deal. The lens was cracked when I purchased it, but I didn't want to leave it in a neglected home any longer. So it's been safe here with me ever since, and it's been living happily ever after. Absolutely love this guy. All right, let's go back here. Go check to that. Oh, Gretchen said that I was going to jump on that lens, and I was agreeing. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna jump on that lens if I decide to go full frame, because that's the whole thing. That will be the package. If I go full frame, that's gonna be the lens that's gonna accompany it, most likely. Yeah. There's a couple of other Sigma lenses, right? They've recently come out as well, but they're not the f1.4. They're like f2.8s, but they're also kind of like this pancake lens, that they're very compact. They are a contemporary series, so they're not their highest ranked, the art series lenses, but they are full metal construction and they're compact. So we'll see what I end up with, but I really think that this is going to be the one to be like my main shot. And if I do go to the full frame, I will then probably be picking up some lenses like that, you know, some 2.8, some 1.8s with wider field of views and different aspects to round out my lens collection in that aspect. That T90 had the flash sync at 1/25th of a second, which was rare. That is rare, especially back then for film. That was like really high. It says for focal plane shutters, that is. Yeah, but still, that technology, like I have some that like I think will only sync to like 60, you know, 1/60th of a second. So it's very, very interesting. Says, sorry to put me on the spot, but thank you for searching. No, man, that's what we do here. We're having fun. Like, this is what I would do. I just didn't even think about getting the comparisons between those two lenses, but that's good to know, because then next time I need to make sure that if I'm going to mention the G Master, I need to bring the specs as well. So that's just learning aspects and upgrading my skills, but I have fun doing this. The only thing is that I also try to make the most of the time that we have here, right? That's all part of like my whole thing, you know, like we need to make the most of our time. So with that being said, I always like to be as prepared as possible instead of just like wasting time searching. But it's not a waste of time because we learn, you know, we learn about the product and we get the correct information instead of like leaving it up to hypotheticals. But no worries, bro, especially for the Camera Junkie crew, this is what I do. Oh, and here's another funny thing, something that I've been doing, a new feature that I might be adding, right? Let me know what you guys think, is FCAD, right? Have you ever heard of CAD on your computer? Well, I am a very big adamant user of FCAD, which is foam core assisted design, right? And one of them being, and I'm going to go to it, is actually something that I'm going to show you right here, which I've been using. It looks like a Klingon spaceship or something like that, but this is a foam core, and this is just a design that I came up with this past week because I've been doing a lot of editing, and when I go into editing, I have my hand here and my mouse in the other, and as I'm going away, it's, you know, hasn't been the most comfortable, and I've had to take breaks because of the shape of like or the way that I have my hand placed while I'm hitting the shortcut buttons on my Stream Deck. So what I did was created a little wedge, and it evolved from a wedge to a wedge that held the Stream Deck in place, to locking it in, and then even coming up with a little thumb rest. So now my Stream Deck sits at an angle perfect for my hand, and almost like that old Game Boy thing, I just put a little gaff tape strap here at the bottom so that now it just sits with me, and now I can sit here for a lot longer editing my videos because they just literally just all the buttons that I need at my fingertips. So I'm able to move this easily, and because my fingers sit at the same exact spot always, because it's doing that, I know exactly which shortcuts I'm hitting at all time. So that's my foam core assisted design, FCAD. Let me know if you guys are interested. Like, this is this is why I think I should get a 3D printer. But at the same time, there's so many advantages of doing it with foam core, because every time I want to make a change to something that I 3D printed, I kind of lost the original like thing. This is something that gets to evolve, and once I have something that's working, then I could actually like reverse engineer this and put a more like full design into an FCAD or into a CAD system, a computer assisted design, and then 3D print that, because I've already used my FCAD as like the guinea pig, right? I was able to make changes and iterations to this foam core and add the pieces, and I go, oh, this is what I need to make it work. And now it's a functioning like prototype. And this is stuff that I do all the time, that I will create like a prototype of something, and then it just gets to a point where it works and I just use the hell out of it, right? That's what I do. I have this other thing that I've been looking to show you guys, which is this Bluetooth handle that you can attach to any phone and then connect it via Bluetooth to give you like a handle and shutter button, so that it feels more like a DSLR camera, but it's your iPhone or your Android phone or anything like that. So I had this idea, I came up with a concept, I made it, right? I physically made the device, and then went to look into copywriting my idea and found out that somebody already had the copyrights to that, and I would have to pay up the wazoo for the rights to just even implement the idea that I had of my prototype. So left that as is, and I was like, don't really have the money to invest into something which was just an idea and it's a prototype. But I've been using that prototype for like 3 years or maybe even longer, and I just changed the batteries and it's like use my new phone and it's like click click and it continues to work. So like functioning working prototypes of a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ideas. Let me know if that's something that interests you, right? And if you're watching this on the replay, if that is something that you're looking to find out more or want me to put more into this channel, please leave me a comment. You know, I would really like to know your thoughts on this. All right. So Gretchen, going back, says there's also a Canon FL mount on the film cameras in the 60s. FL? Wow, we're going way back. Scott says even right before my time. Says I made many dollar bill signs with that T90. I would like for you to make money instead of just dollar bill signs, you know, but I digress. No, that's cool, man. You made a lot of money with the T90 film cameras. Chris has signed me out. Oh, but that's this computer. We're not even going to worry because I'm not on Discord right now. All right, so Gretchen says, who else there built their own pinhole camera from Instamatic cassette? Definitely pre-Lewis days. That's the funny thing. The pinhole cameras is something that I'm aware of, but something that I'm looking to do is actually similar to that, but a step up, which is to actually create a lens from a disposable camera. So what I'm thinking about doing is killing like two birds with one stone, because they're not even that like inexpensive. I remember these disposable cameras were so inexpensive when I was younger, but now they're pretty expensive, right? But I'm thinking about just opening it up and taking the film out of the lens, of the camera, and then applying it to my Zenit camera. So I'll have a roll of film that I would have purchased that I can use for my film camera. At the same time, I can take the lens that's on there, remove it from the housing, and put it onto a lens cap. And adjusted just correctly, you'll be able to adjust the focus to make it like a leveled up pinhole camera, which is something that I've been thinking about doing. Kind of like two birds, one stone. Get the disposable camera so that I can remove the lens. Would not be ideal for that. To just buy film for my camera, which I really don't shoot film, wouldn't be ideal as well. So then I say two birds, one stone. I get the camera, use the film that's inside for my camera, and just have that as a a passion project, and just take some film photographs at my leisure every once in a while, and just really take my time with it like I used to do it when I was young. And at the same time, have that lens to experiment with to make that pinhole camera. Or disposable lens. Or disposable camera lens. Excuse me. Let me get some water here. All right. Says DJ Strick says you saved the camera. I have quite a few, and I fix, and if you can see on the shelf up there, that's like my film cameras. That's my Zenit there. That's a Yashica. That one is, which is that one? Oh, I'm sorry. That's a Yashica. That's a Pentax. So these are all film cameras. I got a Minolta up there as well. Old school stuff, but I gotta keep it spruced up, I spend more time dusting those cameras than using them. Just 100% honest. So Randall's question is, so which full frame camera? That's a good question, because I was thinking about, I had mentioned it before that if I was gonna get a full frame camera, I was probably gonna get like the Sony A9, right? Or the A9 II, depending on the codecs that I'm be able to get out of that. So if I'm able to get my log and and the 10-bit codec out of an A9, I think that's probably going to be the camera that I was going to be shooting for next, because a lot of people have forgotten it. You can get a good deal, especially used, and it's an amazing camera. Plus it's 24 megapixels, so I'm not going to be jumping up like crazy. If I want 42 megapixels, I have my A7R2, and on top of that, if I needed any more, I wouldn't be going into the Sony Alpha 1, just because of the price tag. Because to get everything out of the Sony Alpha 1, which I would absolutely love, disclaimer, that's like a dream camera, but at the same time, it starts like at $6,000-$7,000. To get the most out of the camera, you're gonna have to put the appropriate glass in front of it. So okay, you might be able to save couple $100 if I were to go with this Sigma lens instead of the Sony G Master, but I digress, because that money that you would save on that lens is going to go directly into one of these CF Express Type B cards, so that you can get all of those codecs and all those high bit rates to be able to be extracted onto that memory card, which they don't have high capacity. So I think the highest capacity, which runs around $400, is at 160 gigs. So that's the most that you can get per card. If you want to run dual cards, that's close to another $1,000. Plus you're going to need a CF Express Type B card reader, so that you can get those speeds into, or to connect that camera into your computer, which can run you probably like another $120. Now you can bypass the card reader by connecting your camera directly to your computer and letting the camera be the reader itself. Slows down the process a little bit, but it's something that you can, you know, like address that way if you want to save that little bit of extra money, or might need to. But that's where I would say that even though it's a dream camera, I know that there's added expenses, like just when you go to buy a new car and like you want to upgrade to a Mercedes, you also have to know that you have to not only pay the price for the Mercedes, but also pay for the Mercedes maintenance, which is synthetic oil changes at every 3,000 miles, which are going to run you $90 to $120 each oil change. You can't go to Jiffy Lube, right? When it comes to tires, you're going to be talking about run flat tires, which are going to be $600-$700 each tire, just to keep you that extra added safety in case you were to get a flat and you need that extra 50-60 miles on the road. These are all things that are built into that higher expensive car, but the maintenance to get that higher quality of luxury is at a cost. So that's what the difference is that I understand. So which camera it would be really depends, and that's why I said if it's an APS-C camera, even if it's like the A6600 that is still selling for like $1,400, if it's around that price tag, it'll be like, oh, why don't you go to the 7C, right, at $1,800, which is what they want you to do. But at that same time, I also know the benefits of what I want when it comes to the APS-C camera. So if I can get the 10-bit codec in a smaller form factor, allows me to buy cheaper lenses so that I can build out my arsenal. I can get more out of that 1600 than going into the 1800 full frame, right? Even at the A7C, because I also know that the price tag is going to increase for every lens that I want to now add to my arsenal. I'm not going to be able to find $200-$300 lenses that can like fill the need. I'm gonna need to buy $700-$800 lenses at a minimum. So knowing that that's part of like that maintenance cost of going into the full frame, and just knowing the difference. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like that's what I'm going to aspire to, but I also want to know that I'm taking all of the steps correctly before I just go into it, because a lot of people, and I really do mean a lot of people, purchase the latest and greatest, and like I think Doc Rock mentioned earlier today, like they don't even read the instruction book. They will literally buy the latest and greatest and not know how to use it, and just use it as basic as a like 1960s film camera, like shoot, point, click, and that's it. And you know, hey, more power to them if they can do it, but that's not who I am. And I know that if I'm going to buy a camera, it's going to be very catered to me and what I need it to do, so for me to like invest with my money. And that's just what it comes down to. So like I said, I'm hoping APS-C 10-bit, because that codec change, right, the file format, it will make such a difference. And like I said, older cameras were also designed to be, you know, Super 35. That's like all film movies were shot in Super 35. That's why anamorphic is a thing, because they were trying to maximize the most out of the film. But now we're at a luxury where we have these 100 megabyte bit rates. Every second is recording 100 megabytes. That would be like, you know, comparative to film, right? Comparative to film, like how much data you can fit on like 100 megabytes would be like feet and feet of film. So it's almost like unlimited comparative to what they were dealing with back in the day. So when you upgrade your skills, you know what you're looking for and you know what you want, you can go and purchase an older camera and get even more than somebody who just bought the latest and greatest and doesn't know how to use it. It's like somebody walking into that same, you know, Mercedes dealership, walking out of, start driving their car for months before they even realize that they had heated seats. Right? It's like, and that stuff happens. And I guess the reason why I mention it is just my own experience. I used to work at County Line Lexus over here, and I dealt with that type of demographic, that these people would come in and buy these super expensive cars because that's what they wanted, but yet they don't even know why they wanted it. They just have no idea, and they're buying it because somebody else told them, but they don't even know the benefits of the vehicle that they're purchasing. Like, they didn't even know they had heated seats. Or in South Florida here, they didn't even know they had air conditioned seats, meaning nice cool air comes through the leather. Okay, what was the 18-200 lens? A Canon Sigma? You have my librarian search mode tweaked. It's actually it's a Sigma lens, Canon EF, and it was called hyper zoom. That was like the labeling, and that's the whole thing. If you're on my Instagram, you can go all the way to the first pictures, and I actually, like, that was probably like one of the first pictures on my Instagram, which is like me taking a picture of the lens that I love so much. And it has like all these colors, but it has like all the information on it right there. And that's the one that I can't find. I found, like I told you, that 18 to like 170, and I found some other ones that they're called super zooms, but the one branded hyper zoom, the 18-200, can't find it. So yeah, go ahead and check out my Instagram. It's all the way at the bottom. And Kevin says, yes, has everyone remembered to hit that like button? Just hit it right in the face. That's it. That's all you got to do. It really goes a long way and is highly, highly appreciated. Maybe tomorrow I'll build an APS-C pinhole camera for my EF lenses. Nice. Gretchen says 2. Not sure. Says the pinhole camera. Let's click that on. It says the pinhole camera was my first assignment in my first photography class in high school. It's cool. Did you use aluminum foil? Because that's usually what they do. You know, put a piece of aluminum foil, is just able to just clip the tin. All right. So they're all talking about the lens that I was mentioning. Randall gives a thumbs up on the A9. It's a great camera, man. The A9 is still rocks. Like, still rocks. And the whole thing is that they even have an A9 II. But I digress, right? Just really depends. Look at that. He just put one in chat and they're going for like $1,600. So you see that right there, like that's something that really sparks my interest, because that's around that same price of that A6600. And if you can't get that APS-C camera with the 10-bit, if I get that out of that A9 or the A9 II, that's really up my alley. Right, and I don't see why they wouldn't have it there already, seeming that the A7C is one that has it as well. Kevin says, I actually found a bunch of pinhole body cap lenses on Amazon when I was looking to replace my body cap a while back, and they're probably not that expensive, right? Especially if they are on eBay. It says, if you want to help support Mr. Camera Junkie and his channel, that is my Cash app, and also I have the Buy Me a Coffee, right? Oh, but that's the Cash app one. But I think Buy Me a Coffee has been doing a little bit better. They had like a little hiccup and things were not working too well, but I also like the Buy Me a Coffee like aesthetic. But to each his own. I have that out there for you guys to see if you want to. This is not something that you have to do at all, but I also learned that to be a good giver, right, to give, right, and to, because when we give things away, right, when we gift something to someone, we also receive. So let's be real, right? When we gift something, we receive that joy of gifting, right? That joy of being able to gift to someone. And when you're not a good receiver, right? When you don't give people the avenue to gift to you, to bless you, then you're taking that experience away from them. And that's what I've learned. So that's why I put these things out here. It's so that if you feel moved that you want to, I'm here for it, and I appreciate it because I understand the same way. There's nothing worse than someone going out of their way to try to bless you, to try to gift you something, and then the person that you're trying to gift you doesn't receive it, right? And they'll just be like, nah, or just belittles it completely, which is something that I've learned not to do. So if you do feel it within your heart, I do have different methods for you to reach out to me and to support me in whichever way is possible. And like I said, you don't have to, but it's highly, highly appreciated. But with that being said, before we close things out, right, before, we have to do one thing, which is Cities Gaw. So let's get rid of this right here. And if you're new here, you don't know what Cities Gaw is. This is channels I think you should go and watch. Cities Gaw. So with that being said, we're gonna go over to, where is my Ecamm? Okay, there's Ecamm, and now we're gonna go to my Chrome, and boom, and there we are. And today, who do we have? We have nobody other than Gerald Undone. Some of you guys might already know this content creator, and as I started this series at the beginning of this year, I really have a lot of fun with bringing a lot of content creators that you might or might not have heard of. I always try to let's reverse that. I always try to strive to bring someone that you probably might not have heard of. But then at the same time, I cannot neglect creators that I actually follow and enjoy just because they've reached a higher milestone and they actually deserve to be on the Cities Gaw list. And one of them being Mr. Gerald Undone. I've talked about him on the channel plenty of times. I've mentioned him in plenty of live streams, but he's never been on Cities Gaw. So if this is the first time that you've heard of this man, I highly, highly recommend you go check out his channel. It's pretty interesting because he started as almost a comedy channel way back when, and this was even before I was subscribed to him. And then I found him through the camera niche, which is why I would also recommend. He's very technical and you can get a lot of information, but he's also like, he is next level nerdy, right? Like he is gonna break down to the nitty gritty, and he gives more information that most people can handle. So be forewarned. But I cannot speak like highly enough about him and his content. I really enjoy what he does, and if you see right on the top row, I haven't really moved things around, is because what is it saying? Oh, just okay, we got it. Okay, you can see like his most recent videos are a little off comparative to what he has made previously, because he's actually tapped in a little bit more into like a comedic aspect. So it's almost like him, or he as well, has come full circle. Like, he started as a comedy channel to do this as fun, then fell into like the tech niche and excelled in it, and now has sponsors and does a lot of work with camera companies, lighting, video, photography. And he's not like the artist, right? He's the technician. He's not posting images of his own photography. He's literally taking the specifications and putting them to the test. So like I said, it's very interesting. But now that we come to like his most recent videos, and he's taken back like the jovial aspect of it, and he's having a lot of fun making some like offbeat videos. But if you were to understand how precise or how specific he is with his informational content, then you would also understand that he's going above and beyond in a form of mockumentary of the same work that he has done. So it's pretty interesting. But he's come up with a new series which is pretty interesting, and is sponsored from audio but from Storyblocks, which is one of his main sponsors, which is the video that we have right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, which is the second one that says there's something strange going on with audio books, right? That video is a new series where he's actually putting to the test, right? Or like putting to the fire, the same way that he granularly tests all of the equipment. He's putting the sponsors of other YouTubers to the test. So he started with Audible, right? And he put Audible to the test of fire to see if they are a good company, even though they could be a great sponsor for content creators. So it's a bit of a twist. So you could imagine to see like Squarespace and all of the bigger, like I'm just guessing Magic Spoon, and just a variety of different companies that sponsor content creators to be put through the fire to see if their actual their product is as good as what they say they are, and he's gonna put it through the test. So it's pretty interesting. But if you haven't already, that's just a small synopsis of the way that I see Mr. Gerald Undone. He's an amazing content creator. I find him to be funny because I understand his humor. It's a bit dry. Well, it's actually a lot dry, right? But if you understand, like I said, where he's coming from, I can't help to laugh at all of his antics. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend you check out Gerald Undone. He's one of my preferred content creators. So definitely check him out. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and check with you guys again in chat. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, so we were there with the pinhole cameras. All right, so John's saying yes, he's great. Just saw Peter Lindgren vlog on the Jero Studio on that's funny, because that's another person who's going to be ending up on the list. So you're just kind of like foreshadowing here, because I was this close of putting either Peter Lindgren right on here today, because video photography falls into the same niche, but also I wasn't sure if I was going to put him or his vlog channel, right? Because they're both worthy of being on here. So I was actually thinking that I was going to go more towards the vlog side, to say like, you might have heard of Peter Lindgren, but did you know that he had a vlog channel? But I digress. Something that you can still see in the future, another future foreshadowing a future episode of Cities Gone. So, oh, Richard Sarkeesian is here. Says, "Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Camera Junkie. See you all soon. Appreciate you for hanging out." And Randy's also saying good night to Mr. Richard. And with that being said, guys, another Camera Junkie live stream successfully in the books. Yes, sir. And as always, I appreciate all of you for taking the time, our most precious commodity, and spending it here with me, hanging out with all these amazing people. And guess what? Mark it on your calendars because next week is going to be episode 90. 90 weeks consecutive without missing a beat of the Camera Junkie live stream. This is, as I mentioned before, the highlight of my week. This is always so amazing, and I thank you all for hanging out because you guys are what makes it worthwhile. You know, you guys are what make this so much fun, and I hope that I can bring as much enthusiasm and fun and value as I possibly can, as I feel that you guys provide to me just the same. Well, with that being said, guys, I can't wait to do this all over again next week. There are going to be some changes going to be being implemented, and I'm going to be working things out for the next 10 weeks or so, right? The next 10 episodes coming up, because we're working our way to 200 and then to 204 being the big 2-year mark, which is literally right around the corner. Like I mentioned before, I'm gonna be spending close to a month up in the northeastern part of the United States, so I'm excited for that. A lot of things coming through, so if you want to know what's happening with Mr. Camera Junkie, make sure that you subscribe, stay tuned. You can find me on all social medias, and with that, I will bid you adieu. Everyone, have a great night. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I can't wait to see you here to do it all over again next week. Super excited, and we're going to keep things rolling. Everyone, have a great night, and I will see you next time.
Start it up.